Hey guys, it has been a while since I've stopped by, made a podcast, had lots and lots going on, and eventually I'll definitely be sharing, insights from all of these things. Um, but I had some recent things drop in that I specifically wanted to share with you all because they felt like pretty massive um, realizations to embody around our wealth internally and externally and our limiting beliefs around what we can create and have in life. And so for those of you who are not aware, I have my nodes are in the eighth and second houses. So my north node is in the second house. And they're also in the houses ruled by them. So my south node is eighth house in Scorpio, and my north node is second house in Taurus. And so I have massive money themes and initiations that I'm going through. And the way that I navigate these things is through I'm a trailblazer in them. I'm navigating them in my own way, in my own experimentational processes, and finding new pathways through to those roots and how we establish those roots of personal wealth internally and externally. And that's not just it is material financial wealth, but also emotional spiritual wealth, community wealth, just fulfillment and prosperity in life, right? And so recently, we've had some really beautiful, powerful activations around personal wealth, prosperity, and these themes. And with Venus being active in a lot of these areas and Jupiter being active, it's been a sort of massive expansion of what laws or beliefs we have that are the foundation and the templating within us. And so I'm sure if you're watching this, I'm sure that you have felt some of these things moving through. Um, and what I found over the past, week or I mean, so this has been a massive theme, for me for years, where I've gone deeper and deeper into and just, been claiming all of these different insights and wisdom around these spaces because it's a nodal theme for me. So there's been a lot of initiations here. Um, but over the weekend, what I found really interesting was that, as I have moved more into a space where my foundations are firm for the survival aspects of what is needed financially to get by in this world, I'm finding myself now creating my roots within my community, both through the business and personally. And what I felt coming up this weekend was a sense of just like, it wasn't even really frustration. It was just kind of like hopelessness. Like, like this dream that I have and this thing that I know that I really want and I've been working toward that is just so clearly my soul expression of fulfillment in the world, of having this flow of connection to my fractal that I am here to connect with at the community level, at that higher service level of sharing my gifts and helping people to step into their own soul led truth, to build their dreams into reality, to step into their own soul purpose and mission and share their gifts of service to humanity and the world. And also the flow of income that comes from that, that brings me a level of stability and fulfillment, and freedom in that space, right? And I felt just a little like blockage there. And as I felt into that, it seemed like there was it felt exactly like when I witness my daughters who really, really want something and I just can't get it for them for whatever reason at the moment. It can't happen. And they want it so badly, but they just can't have it, right? And I felt that so strongly with this aspect of what I know that I'm here to experience and create and step into, but it's felt like such a struggle. And these are all of these freedom and struggle, like these are all major themes in my gene keys. And so I felt into it, and it reminded me of the tarot card. And I can't remember the actual name of the tarot card for some reason right now, but it's the one where you feel like you're imprisoned. It's a swords one. And you feel like you're being imprisoned, but you're not actually. It's an illusion, right? You're actually not. In the card that I have, I have this gorgeous dragon oracle deck. I should have grabbed the card, but it shows this woman that's chained, or she thinks she's chained, and there's a dragon there waiting, and she thinks that she's being held captive by this dragon, but her chains are cut and she could easily run out. And so as I started feeling into this, I started really feeling into the limiting beliefs around why we can't have what we think we can't have. So whether that's money or the ability to create the life that we want, or even if it comes to time. And I started to realize those things that are limiting beliefs are created because of our external circumstances, right? So they are created based on our experiences. So if we've had a life of experiencing a certain thing, this is why we have the belief that we have. That's why we've formed that belief, right? Because this is what we've experienced. And the frontal cortex, which is also the masculine part of our brain, the logical, rational thinking part of our brain, is in charge of helping us to understand our reality, our physical reality. When it comes online, when we are in the womb, it is meant to help us interpret and extrapolate how we interact with the physical world. The problem is that in so many of us, it's very disconnected from the deeper quantum truths of the cerebellar mind and the cerebellar quantum existence of all things. And when those two things are disconnected and we are living only from this frontal cortex of what is possible in the physical world in front of us, we are limited by physics, right? And so we get these limitations of, well, I just don't have the money. I can't make more money. I just don't have the time. There's only 24 hours in a day, right? And I started to, at different levels, I've already worked with, all of these little things at different levels. But this level of limitation started to bring me into a bigger picture, embodied understanding of the exploration of that experience that we have of what becomes a possibility and what is not possible based on the extrapolations of that frontal cortex, right? And so I started to kind of pick them one by one. It's like, okay, let's think of the most physical things. And one of these things was really fun, like when you take money, right? And in this, when we're in this kind of prison, right? This illusory prison, we see, well, I only have access to so much money. And I've only ever had access to so much money. Maybe that can change, maybe that can't change. For me personally, I've been working with money layers for so long. I've been doing so much to heal that relationship to that frequency of money. In fact, recently, one of the layers that I went through that I'll share also, because I think it's really important, and it's a bit of a tangent, but I think it's really important, is where I had an experience of money where I just felt like I had gone in and healed. For those of you that know, I work deeply with the masculine and feminine energies, the relationships that we have with everything, and how all of those are actually a reflection of our internal state of relationship and our state of relationship with the universe at large, and of that with our soul self. And that is what determines our reality, right? And I had gone in and done so much deep work. Money and intimate relationships and our experience of love are deeply intertwined. And I've done other podcasts on this and mentioned this in other places as well. But so whenever I'm looking at or working with the level of money in myself or with anyone else, we start with how it feels internally. What does your relationship with money feel like internally? And I felt like I couldn't have money, that there was something wrong with me. And recently I've gone in and healed. In the past 6 or 8 months, I've healed a ton of my internal relationship around the masculine and what is possible in the ways that I can be loved, and really starting to step up and honor that I deserve to be loved and experience love in the ways that feel good to me, which is a huge level of healing inner child work, of being able to receive love in the ways that feel good to us. And I could see how, yes, I have this stable foundation of money, and yet it is still not flowing in the ways that feel good to me. And at the foundational level, of course, I'm, deeply appreciative. Like, there's that level of like settling that's the same kind of thing that you do in a relationship where you're really being starved for the things that you actually deeply desire. You're really starving for more. And for whatever reason, you can't have it, right? And so I recognized that, like, in those relationships, I had been showing up for it. I had been making myself available for those things that were actually truly starving me. I was perpetuating that experience by what I was choosing to allow myself to show up for. And not just at a mental level of like what I'll allow myself to show up for, but what I truly believed that I could or couldn't ask for, or what I truly believed that in my heart that I needed to make myself available for in order to be compassionate, or in order to allow for growth, or whatever different things, right? Which are all rooted in so many other different wounds, right? And I can do another podcast that goes deeper into those things also. But so when it came to money, the problem is that my relationship with men, it was easy for me to say, okay, I haven't had these things in the past, or I have chosen to show up and interact and make myself available for these experiences. And there are other men out there. There are men out there who can love me the way that feels good to me, right? And I can choose to only make myself available to what feels good to me. But when it comes to money, money is a frequency. And it's not, there are different experiences with money based on how in alignment you are with that frequency. And so it felt like there was just this confirmation of, well, if money isn't coming to me in the ways that feel good to me, the problem is with me, right? And that just went back, and I could feel how closely that was tied to the same wounds that I had with, oh, well, if I'm not receiving the love that feels good to me, the problem must be with me, and I need to change who I am, right? In order to get that love, right? And so I could feel that wound there, and it was really deep and achy and painful and hopeless. And so I just sat with it, and I just held it for a while. And eventually, what bubbled through was that at the core of who we all are, at our core soul self in this body, we are a magnetic frequency match to all of the abundance that makes us feel supported and nourished and well resourced for our purposes here in the world, right? And for our desires here in the world, because we all hold unique desires of how we get to live this life and experience it, right? And we're here to be able to experience life in the ways that feel good to us. Our soul wants that too, right? And so, and the more that we're able to do that, the more it actually just empowers and amplifies our frequency to share our gifts in service to our communities as well, right? It actually just amplifies our magnetism and our potency, the more fulfilled and the more, lit up we are by life in general, right? And so I realized that, like, okay, at my core, clearly there's nothing wrong with me. I'm a match for this. And anything that actually is standing in the way of that match is not a problem with me and who I am. It's a problem with this veil of conditioning. It's a blockage in that energetic frequency, right? And that I can trust myself to be guided to, and I can trust that to unfold in the perfect timing that it is meant to unfold for me, knowing that I'm a very aware person, knowing that I'm a very present person, knowing that I am, very adept at navigating those things. I don't have to worry about, the timing or the unfolding of any of that. And this is true for anybody, regardless of where you are in your journey. You can trust that you will continue to gain those skills when you are open to this process of stepping into the truest part of yourself at that quantum level soul expression through this body. You can trust that that is going to continue to unfold in the perfect time for you. And that you're not going to miss any opportunities that are meant for you, nor is any experience that is here to teach you a lesson going to ever pass you by, right? You're never going to miss a lesson. And you're never going to miss an opportunity that's meant for you. And so that was incredibly helpful for that aspect of it. So coming back to this weekend, it's like, okay, so there is a block here, though, where there is a sort of limiting belief around what I believe is possible based on what I've experienced in life, right? And based on the struggle that I've had to create what it is that I want, in this sense of, is maybe it's just never going to happen, right? And so I started thinking about money itself. And it's so perfect the way that, this was like last weekend that I just went into, that all of that kind of moved through. And over the week, I actually went on several field trips as chaperones with my daughter and with my daughters. And one of them was to the printing bureau here in Dallas. So there are two places in the United States that print our money. And one of those is in DC. One of those is here in Dallas. And we got to go. And it was really interesting to be there. One, because the part of me that had been connecting to my sense of abundance and the sense of abundance in the world around me could then feel the sense of financial abundance that truly is around as well. It's like, how often are you surrounded by that much wealth? I mean, we are talking trillions of dollars just all around you, right? And none of it's monetized yet, but it's all money, right? I mean, it's we're looking at it and it's money, right? And then the other half of me was also fully aware of how this money system has actually been put in place specifically to keep us in a certain level of control by the systems that be, right? So there's a full level of awareness and clarity there right? And the full awareness that where we live at in this time and space is as a human being whose whose involvement in our communities at the most powerful levels involve money. And there was this really beautiful awareness that, yes, this money system may have been implemented in order to keep a certain structure, to keep us in line and disempowered in a certain way. However, as we connect to our higher sources of consciousness and as we clear our frequencies to our resources and abundance, money actually just is one of those resources in our daily lives right now. It happens to be in the form of this money right now, or these numbers on a card, or whatever it is. But truly, it's our connection to that resource, right? That allows life to flow very easily and allows us to do our work in the world. And as you clear that and you clear these limiting beliefs, you start to get to hack that system and you can start to redirect it, right? So that it can be rebuilt. And so, yeah, there was just a really, really beautiful sense of how abundant this resource truly is, how accessible it truly is, right? So that happened on Tuesday. And then move forward to this weekend, and I'm having this limiting belief around like what's possible in my life and like why am I struggling with this, and I've had this, sure, maybe it's all out there, and sure, maybe my living breathing self, I can feel how abundant, and this was one of the important aspects of like connecting to internal abundance is, when you breathe in, you're breathing in unlimited amounts of pure free oxygen. And when you breathe out, you're sharing that with the plants around you. You're giving and then they're giving. And it's this beautiful natural flow that's as easy as breathing, right? And your sense of being, like part of connecting to your internal abundance is, and to your clearing that space for those resources of abundance to come in, is feeling how valuable your mere being is to the world around you. And so, I was able to really easily connect now, finally, after years of like moving through all these different layers, and particularly the last like 8 months or so of my own personal value in the world of just being who I am. I was able to easily connect to how my being, just me being around people, just my aura gives them a sense of being able to accomplish anything, right? The sense of boundlessness, right? And how the gifts of just who I am in the world, and the wisdom that I carry, and what moves through me to be remembered in this world, that I naturally share, that comes through me, is such a gift in the world and so supportive to my community, right? And so I can feel how, and that creates a sense of like there's a reciprocity here, right? And so, and I could feel all of that, and I could feel, but what I noticed is that, but how do I feel receiving money specifically just because of who I am? Not because of any reason or because of anything I've done. Like, how would I feel if somebody just came and gave me money? And I realized that there's like a sense of anxiety around that for me. And there's a sense of waiting for that person. In my experience, people have always come back later with this sense of, somehow I wasn't appreciative enough of, in some unspoken way, that there was some expectation of something being like returned in some way that was not spoken of, that clearly wasn't being fulfilled by my natural being and how I was interacting with that, right? And so there was definitely some anxiety around that. And what I connected to is that, obviously that is when you're working at the human level, there will be unspoken things in the shadows there around expectations and things like that. But money doesn't have any of those things. So I started feeling into money and resources like this of abundance as a frequency and what it cares about. And particularly as the I've been working a lot with the masculine aspect of money, because that's kind of the most wounded aspect for me, it seems, at the moment. I've worked a lot with the feminine aspects of it as well, but and what I could feel was that it wanted to be appreciated for how it was showing up, just like our men, and that it wanted, all it cared about was how I felt it, how deeply it was felt, how deeply it was received, right? How deeply could it penetrate me and my experience? And I thought, oh, okay, this is actually really interesting, because while I carry a level of appreciation for what I have had given to me, that has come to me financially, I've been focused still on, I'm not bringing in my money in the ways that feel good through my clients, right? And so there was this, because the financial stability that I have right now has very much been my eighth house that's coming from all of these other resources, but it's not through my gifts of service in the community. It's not my own source of money, which is my second house, North Node, that I'm stepping into. And so, yeah, I realized, one, okay, well, how can I bring appreciation for how money is already showing up in my life? And so I started to really anchor into the appreciation for all of these sources, these South Node sources of financial support that I do have in place right now, that do feel really good, that have brought a lot of stability to my life, right? And then I felt into, okay, how about my experience with money and how deeply I am allowing it in? And for me, this is part of my, whenever we're looking at like love, resources, how easily they're coming into our life, how effortlessly they're kind of coming into our life, we know that we're dealing with an earth element. There's something that's not rooted there. And in the gene keys, we have two kind of earth elements. We have a conscious earth element and we have an unconscious earth element. And for me, as soon as I felt into how deeply I can allow myself to feel the money, I realized immediately that this was related to my purpose gene key, which is my purpose in all relationships, with every person, with every relationship that I have, with every interaction of frequency, its presence. And the shadow of that is superficiality. And I could feel where my experience with money was a bit surface level, at a superficial surface level. Not superficial as in materialistic superficial or shallow like that, but as in it wasn't going deep emotionally. As in, I wasn't truly allowing myself to receive and be penetrated by money at a deep, sensual, emotional level. And so I have now started, a practice of connecting deeply to both my appreciation of how money is showing up and of how deeply I allow myself to receive and feel that money as it's flowing through, and how nourishing it is at this deeply embodied, sensual, emotional space, right? So, this experience that we have with money, and there's like that limiting belief of like what we've had, and can we have more? Well, the thing is, again, it's a frequency, right? So when we connect to resource as a frequency, and we start to recognize that actually money is completely not limited. It's it's printed in the trillions of dollars daily, essentially, right? And that even more so now because it's just numbers on a card. It's just numbers now, right? And all of the ways that we actually can resource that, right? Like it's actually very unlimited. And we can actually, as we clear those frequencies of resonance, we actually can hack the system of money, right? But even when you move to something as physically limiting as time, and you start to connect to the reality, the quantum reality of time space, and you start to really realize that time and your relationship to time is directly affected by your specific flavors of earth elements and how present you can be in those frequencies with time and how much you can feel the abundance of time around you if you are in a state. So time, actually your experience of time and your experience of money are deeply intricately connected as well. There's a quantum entanglement there. And so if you are relating to time as if you don't have enough time, chances are you are also relating to money as if you don't have enough money, or that there's some limitation around it. A lot of times there's a connection there. And when you can actually slow down time by slowing down in your body. When you can work at it in this quantum level where you can actually expand time and literally experience an expansion of time around you where you have much more time to get things done and much more freedom of time in order to create and accomplish things in your life. And so whenever we start connecting at these deeper quantum levels of frequency and how we are interacting with those frequencies, we actually start hacking these prefrontal cortex experiences of these kind of rigid experiences of things. This even works at the gravitational level. So we think of gravity as something that it's just there. You can't do anything about it, but that's not true, is it? We actually do have proof around us, even if it's just in whispers, of how you can hack the gravity experience, how you can levitate things and things can be created and lifted and moved using frequencies, or how objects can be encapsulated in anti-gravity technologies that actually create a shield against the experience of our gravitational pull, and how humans can actually experience astral travel or levitational abilities based on their abilities to connect to different levels of these frequencies, either through their soul body or even through their physical body, right? So these are things that are fully out there, and yet it's so many of us are disconnected from that resource. But it's not true that it is out of your reach. It's about connecting to the resource and the frequency and being able to clear that frequency in order to serve whatever it is that you're wanting to step into in your soul self, right? Even when we talk about something as solid as physical matter, and we think, well, that's the most solid limiting thing there is, right? Again, not true at the quantum level, because at the quantum level, these are all just molecules. At the quantum level, things they can move in and out of dimensions. Things can be brought into time space, right? And I don't have that ability, right? But I know it exists. And so just because we don't have the abilities for certain things, or just because we haven't experienced them, or just because we don't see it in everyday life, just because it doesn't make logical linear sense, does not mean that these limitations are hard and fast and true, right? We as humans in our society, in the ways that we're living today, are largely very disconnected from a lot of the quantum abilities that our soul gifts to us through clearing these frequencies. But that doesn't mean that they're out of our reach, and it doesn't mean that we are limited. So truly, what we are limited by is our own depth of connection to these frequencies. And so, most of these things right now, where we are and how we're living our lives right now, we don't need to be able to create things out of thin air. We don't need to be able to levitate and move against the, the gravitational pull. We don't need to work at those levels in our daily lives right now. Those aren't important to our human existence right now. But what is important, the frequencies that are important for us to work with right now in our daily lives, is breaking free from these prisons of our abilities to connect to our resources of time and money. Those are important. And it starts with that internal relationship around that templating of beliefs and what stories have been implemented from our own previous experiences, and being able to unravel those to create something new, right? And being able to navigate those frequencies to find out how it is that you are here to connect with and cultivate that relationship with that resource, and how it is that that resource desires to move through you and support you in your dreams and gifts and the ways that you're here to support humanity, right? And so, yeah, I just wanted to share. Yeah, we do a lot of there's a lot that has been out there around like biohacking. And I'm not a fan of biohacking. I am here to create efficiency in connecting the mind and the body into harmony and building that relationship to bring the soul experience externally, right? So that we can literally build our dream into reality, be our authentic, true soul self walking in this world, and bringing our unique gifts of service to our communities and building these systems in that way. But it's in a way that is deeply in alignment with your natural unfolding, meeting you where you are and allowing you to make these quantum leaps as your soul self is ready to do so, and allowing that to unfold in its natural way for you without trying to hack things and force things, right? But what we can do in that process is actually hack the external systems. And rather than allowing these belief systems to be created by something that is coming from an external experience, to reorientate those belief systems to that deeper internal experience of oneness with the quantum realm and the deeper laws that are more, these are the laws of the universe. Yes, there are certain laws that exist in physics here on Earth, but those are not true anywhere else. They're different everywhere else. We experience them differently here on Earth than anywhere else in the universe. And we can still work with those because we are interdimensional beings. We are living in multiple dimensions. Our physical body may be here in this dimension, but we can actually unite that interdimensional fifth dimensional self, fourth dimensional self into one united being. And that makes us so incredibly powerful. as humans to be able to live in these interdimensional spaces. And so that's truly what you are creating and reconnecting to, is your interdimensional laws of being, rather than just that 3D self and the laws that govern the 3D self. What you're bringing online is access, right, to the interdimensional self and to the laws that govern all of these interdimensional spaces, and giving yourself access to be able to start working in all of these spaces, right? So if you'd like some help with that, I am here to support you in gaining understanding of what these gifts are that you carry, what your soul self, like how your soul self actually guides you, in learning to speak these languages of the universe and the higher self so that you can navigate these things, and in the techniques and skills of how to efficiently bring those interdimensional aspects of self into union, so that you can start to navigate in a very practical way these different decisions and navigate these reflections that come to you of these limiting beliefs, and really start to alchemize them. I can help you with that. So you can check out my website. You can check out so the website is embodiedsacredunion.com. My Instagram is at embodiedsacredunion. And yeah, you can reach out to me, and I'd love to support you in any way I can.